Hey everybody, we had the big VP debate last night, and it looks like Vance might have had the slightly better night. So we're going to go through it and see if there's any fallout. So the headline of this Politico article is, it was a very Midwestern debate and Vance won. But my own personal view is, it was basically a draw. And if you're looking for the end result of, is this going to move the needle one way or the other, I would say probably not really. But if it does help Trump maybe a half a point or so, that again could make all the difference. I don't think there were that many standout moments from this debate, but I think it was a good debate overall. I think they both delivered what they needed to do. And there's probably a lot of Americans that would rather have Vance and Walz as the nominees over Trump and Harris. But the reason I think Vance might be viewed as the winner over Walz is Vance came into this with more to gain from it. His favorabilities were low. So I think he was trying to introduce himself to many voters for the very first time. They probably heard some of the things he said and they view him in a negative light. So this was his chance to make a good impression. And I think the best thing he did was provide some contrast with himself and Donald Trump. Not necessarily on policy, but on style. Vance was much more laid back and not rough around the edges. It's not at all something we're used to seeing with Trump. So that I think delivers some balance to the ticket. Now Walz, on the other hand, I think he comes into this with a lot more experience. And he was more amped up than Vance. But I don't think Walz really did anything wrong. He misspoke a couple of times, but I don't think it was anything too serious. I would think the Walz camp would be satisfied with that performance, just as I think the Trump camp would be satisfied with Vance's. I can easily see each side saying that their candidate won. So I was a little surprised to see that more outlets might have declared Vance to be the winner. Now overall, on a couple of the issues, I think Vance's weakest is of course going to be abortion, but he did say something to the effect that Republicans do have to do better on that issue. So he acknowledges that's a problem, which it definitely is. On immigration, Vance went there a number of times. Walz, I don't think wiped out on it, but I think Vance is going to just be favored on that particular topic. The worst answer Vance probably gave would be when Walz asked him directly about January 6th and if he thinks that Trump lost the election last time. Vance didn't really answer the question. He says that he wants to look forward. I'm not saying I think it's a super important issue for myself, but some voters might find that to be a little bit off-putting. But there was some agreement during the debate. It was pretty civil. They both asked each other a couple of questions, and ultimately I think Vance made Trump look a little bit better than Walz did for Harris. And as for the moderating, I think it was fine, not as good as the very first debate between Trump and Biden. There was one moment where after the question wrapped up, the moderator threw in a comment that seemed to be fact-checking Vance, but he didn't have a chance to respond. So Vance did jump in on that, and he said that the rules were there's not going to be any fact-checking. So it went back and forth like that for a minute. They did have to cut the mics. And in that particular moment, if there was not going to be any fact-checking, I don't think they should have made that particular comment. So I could see it either way. I saw some comments that thought Vance did a great job, but I also saw some that said the same about Walz. And this CBS flash poll is more of what I thought. It says that the debate was a draw. This says Vance won the debate 42% to 41% for Walz. 17% called it a tie. And 88% thought the tone of the debate was generally positive. And then for the favorability ratings, Walz entered the night with a 52% favorable. After the debate, he was up to 60. With the same group, Vance came into the debate at 40%. He left with 49. So Walz still remains clearly ahead of Vance on favorability. If we go over to CNN, their instant poll after says 48% to 45% said Walz is more in touch with the needs and problems of people like them than Vance is. But 37% to 33% said that Vance, rather than Walz, did the better job defending their running mate. That part I do think Vance did a little bit better job on. But for this particular poll, it also said debate watchers were 3 points likelier to be Democratic aligned than Republican aligned, making for an audience that's about 5 points more Democratic leaning than all registered voters nationally. The key sentence here is at the very bottom. It says a negligible 1% of voters who turned into the debate said it had changed their minds about who to vote for. So that's almost nothing, but in an extremely close race, maybe even a half a point matters. If we go to Washington Post, they've got 22 swing state voters, and 8 of them said Walz was better, while 14 said Vance was better. So that is an advantage for Vance. Then we've got some quotes from these swing state voters about the different candidates. But after that, we could see if there was any movement with these voters. Prior to the debate, 9 of them were probably voting for Harris. 12 of them were probably voting for Vance. 2 of them were neither. And that does total 23. But after the debate, 6 of them were definitely voting for Harris. 3 of them probably. 1 was neither. 8 probably for Trump. And then 5 more definitely for Trump. And there wasn't really a whole lot of movement. 1 that was neither prior to the debate switched over to probably Harris. And 1 probably Harris voter actually switched and decided to go for probably Trump. So it's not a huge sample size, but maybe Vance has the very slight advantage. If you go down further, you could find out what these swing state voters thought about specific questions and topics. The 2 most notable questions here are, do you agree with Vance that abortion policy should be left to the states. 11 say disagree strongly. Another 4 say disagree somewhat. Only 3 people agree strongly. So that is a tough issue for Vance and the Republicans. Vance tried to approach it in a delicate way, but there's really no other way to spin it. Way more voters do not want extreme limitations on abortion. Now, the other question that Walz wiped out on is down here toward the bottom. This says who made better arguments about how to handle U.S. policy toward Israel and Iran. Only 6 said Walz, while 16 said Vance. So that's a pretty big gap. Then we've got some more quotes. So there's always a bunch more here you could take a look at if you'd like. As always, the links will be down below in the description. So that's a quick summary of the debate. We've got to give it a little bit of time to see if this has any impact on the polling. I would guess Trump would stand to gain a little bit more than Harris, but that's just based on the fallout from what I'm reading. Again, overall, once you even everything out, I thought they both did a fine job. So if this is going to matter, it's going to be right here in the swing states. Here's the current Real Clear Politics average as of October 1st. It's basically tied at right now. Trump is up 0.2. We're going to have to wait until we get to the final 3 weeks of polling. That's theoretically when we could expect it to be at its most accurate. But again, as we've seen in some different elections, in some different directions, the polling definitely might not be accurate. If it does underestimate Trump again, even by only 1 point, that would likely be enough for a Trump victory. But likewise, if it goes in the other direction, that's also going to mean Harris would win. If we go down here and look at the Real Clear Politics Electoral College map, it's 215 for Harris, 219 for Trump, 104 toss-up votes. If you shift to no toss-ups, then Trump actually wins 281 to 257. He does pick up Pennsylvania in the Rust Belt, but Harris holds on to Nevada. Now, I would like to see another Trump and Harris debate. We did get 1 debate already, but I think it would be nice to get 2. It doesn't look likely to happen, but you never know. People are already voting. And I always thought it was kind of weird to start voting before all the debates were finished. Something could always come up and you might want to change your vote or get new information. So we'll see what happens for that, but this might be the last debate for president and vice president. But I'm going to leave it there for now, so let me know in the comments, what did you think about this vice presidential debate? Do you think it was mostly a draw, or do you agree that Vance actually might have pulled out the better performance? Or do you disagree and think that Walz is going to have more of a positive impact? And is anything really going to change in this race? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.